So, Michael, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about terraforming, rethinking the notion of the landscape as a construct, which obviously it is, since the landscape is a system of representation to start with, but adding from the technological standpoint something that somehow prefigures possibly the way we will relate to the notion of landscape in the future.
I think we have, and that what we see also in terraforming and the terraforming work, our romantic idea of untouched landscape has gone. There is no longer untouched landscape or nature on this planet. So I think we really have to say goodbye to this romantic idea and accept that we are facing a new quality, a new concept of nature, a new concept of landscape. And this is what I would call a post-natural landscape, where technology is definitely a part of this landscape, even if the technological impact or the technological hardware itself is not visible.
But this idea of radio waves permeating absolutely every single inch of the planet. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, there's this whole discussion about the introduction of 5G right now and the impact it may have on the human brain. But I think that it's interesting to think about, for instance, what happened to nature after the Chernobyl disaster. So the idea of radio waves maybe having a real effect upon the development of what we still call nature somehow. But it's interesting to me also, going back to this idea of hybridity, the idea of combining pictures of the Earth pointing to the decay of the Earth, mm-hmm. and then associating that with the idea of pioneering another planet. Because, as you say, the landscape is disappearing, the nature on this planet is gone, and now we're hoping to go and colonize another planet to start all over again, right?
As you know, since 2011, I'm working on that outer space series, which is dedicated to the latest developments and explorations in space technology. One topic which is on discussion in the space community is the idea of terraforming Mars. As we now are getting closer to have the technologies really to travel interstellar and maybe land on Mars in the near future, the question is, what are we doing there? And how do we survive there? Humans have arrived at terra incognita. They try to transform it and they try to reshape it and make it habitable in a way that this group of people feels comfortable there. And that will happen with Mars. What does that mean, terraforming Mars? It means transforming an inhabitable environment into a habitable one. Mars is inhabitable. It's not really very nice to be there and to live there because you can't breathe and it's too cold. But you can alterate that. Nowadays we know there is a lot of frozen water on Mars. So liquefying the frozen water from the Mars poles and augmenting the level of liquid water on Mars is one aspect that could be done. The next one is releasing greenhouse gases, which are bound in the soil of Mars. Releasing these greenhouse gases will thicken the atmosphere of Mars, and that will augment the ground temperature. And then we start a process of heating up the planet. And the same techniques, or these techniques, we are very familiar with because we are using them on Earth. We are releasing too much greenhouse gases, we are melting down our glaciers, we are thickening the atmosphere, and we are augmenting the temperature of our planet in a way that is not acceptable any longer. And on one hand, as you said, we're thinking about how to transform the planet to make or to create living space for us there, and on the same time we are destroying our own beautiful habitat by using the same technologies, and that's really absurd. And so that brought me to the idea of creating that terraforming work and showing the process of how terraforming works. And that's why I decided to create this hybrid landscape and combining Earth landscape with landscape footage that was taken on the Mars surface by Curiosity rover. It's a slow process. You in the video, you start with Earth-like landscape, but they look already somehow extraterrestrial. Sometimes it looks like a being on Mars, but it's Earth. And from there, we're going into the hybrid landscapes, which are a mix and fusion of Earth and Mars landscapes.
It's interesting to me that you spell out so clearly this idea that the same mechanism that we're trying to fight against on planet Earth in order to save it is the exact same system that you would like to use to create something positive on another planet. And to the degree of like, are we only able to do this? I mean, in other words, can we not think of reversing the process? I mean, it's very interesting because I think in the light of what has been happening since the beginning of this year and the advent of this pandemic, we've noticed the healing of the planet induced by the complete frozen state in which we are as human beings. All of a sudden,
stopping the air traffic politically before would never been possible. Impossible. And then within 2 weeks, air traffic stops.
It's fantastic to think, we've noticed that the ozone layer is repairing itself. We're noticing that with the complete stop of boat traffic in Venice, the canals are cleaning up and the fish are reappearing. We're noticing in the cities, we have so many more birds. The fact that the noise level has gone down so significantly has brought back a whole number of animals who stayed away. And it's all of a sudden becoming very clear that we were totally oblivious to the fact that human activity was chasing away other species from the territory that we occupied, and that we are basically becoming aware of something that was possibly a theory before, but now we can see it's actually true. So it's quite interesting because I think that there is a shift that is occurring in our perception of the world, and we realize all of a sudden that we're not just able to destroy, we can also, if we stop and we stand still, we can see how quickly the planet is recovering. We have this fantasy of, the planet is destroyed, let's start thinking about where else we're going to go when we finally finish destroying it. And once we stop, we realize that tiny little virus has managed to make us do something that we would not even be able to dream about, as you were saying before. In the course of the past month, I think the air traffic like almost entirely disappeared.
And what I even think is more surprising is that most of the population accepts this state for now. Yeah? So nobody complains. Oh, I cannot fly. I cannot do this. Of course, we are all impacted economically and with our social structures and family structures with all this. But at the end of the day, I have the feeling that most of the people that live also in my surrounding accept it and say, okay, we do it. We stay home. We don't fly. We don't move. We accept this situation. And there is no tumult. There is no revolution against that. It's society accepted as a necessity. And I think that's quite interesting. Paul Virilio wrote a book in the 90s entitled High Speed Standstill. And that's what's happening now. We're going from a super high speed accelerated society to a complete standstill. And as you said, it has a very positive effect on the environment. And we're talking just about 3 weeks. What about if we stop for a year? What effect would that have on the CO2 emissions, the sea, the quality of the sea and the air and nature and everything? I guess a huge impact. So hopefully it makes us think about our role as humans on this planet, the way how we organize our societies, and maybe that we are going to change something in the future after this pandemic.
Well, maybe we don't go to Mars after all. So your premonitory is become science fiction all of a sudden.
We will go to Mars. We will go on the next step. We will go to the moon, definitely. And the space topic is very interesting because most of the people still think that talking about space, we talk about space exploration, discovering new worlds, going into the unknown. All true. But have you heard of Starlink?
No.
SpaceX Starlinks? They are going to install a so-called satellite mega constellation around the entire world. What does that mean? For now, we have about 3,500 satellites up in space. This is a growing industry, and we are much more and more depending on these satellites on our life on Earth. SpaceX is planning to bring up 42,000 satellites in space and really envelop the entire planet in a net of satellites, which will cover every little corner on the world with internet access. So there will be a grid of technological artifacts spanning around the whole planet from pole to pole.
Right.
And this will be visible for us. The clear and untouched night sky will be gone because we will see these satellites traveling up there because they're highly reflective. You can see them with the naked eye and see flying these satellites there. And this is a huge problem now for astronomers because they can't do their work anymore because they have a grid of reflecting satellites now going up there. And now we have about, I think they're about 400 up now or 350, and we are going up to 40,000. This is a huge impact on our environment. So even the night sky will become a post-natural landscape. The next discussion we are going to have is if we can't stop the process of climate changing, if we will pass certain levels that really will be a threat to our life on Earth, we will start the discussion about climate engineering. And that means using technology to actively manipulate our climate. So now, over the past 100 years, 200 maybe, we did it accidentally, and we are now confronted to the results of what we did. But maybe we will come to a point of no return where even our human behavior or reduction of certain behaviors like flying will not be enough to keep the planet under the 2 degree level elevation. We will come to the discussion how to use certain technologies like CO2 capturing from the air, like solar radiation management. That means altering the reflection level of our atmosphere by putting certain chemicals into the atmosphere to reflect more of the sunbeams back to space and not letting them through to Earth's surface. To artificial weather modifications. States will start to do their own climate, their own weather, to shift. China has a huge project now to, it's called Skyflow, to alterate the flow of clouds, to take the clouds from other countries, bring them to China, let them rain in China. And so these things will come up in the next decade. And we will have that discussion how to control actively our climate by using these technologies for making it better or even making it way worse and destroying even more of our climate. Wow. And that's the topic of my next series, which is entitled Cool Earth. And it's all about the topic of climate engineering.
All right. Thank you very much.
We can continue whenever you want.
Okay. Take care.
Take care, you too. Thanks for your time and thanks for the interesting conversation.